$70,000 cash money in the spot right to get the
300 Quaker, probably in the spot, up to 20.
They steal the store, they turn it into cash.
Okay, I'm on the northbound axis. Just right at the light.
What the hell can they do? And I think we can set it up again.
If you like what you hear, go to ganglandwire.com. We need you to put a hit out on our donate button. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/ganglandwire. Follow true crime storyteller Gary Jenkins on Twitter at Jenks Law. Buy the DVD Gangland Wire or download the Kansas City Mob Tour app. And now, here's Gary Jenkins.
Good evening, folks. We're back here and not in the studios of the Big Dumb Fun Show. We're in another city, actually, with my good friend Aaron. Say hello, Aaron.
Hello, Aaron.
You know what we're talking about. We're with our other friend, Mac. Say hello, Mac.
Hello, Mac.
And I know you've been following it by now, but let me tell you a little bit about where we are. That's our friend Martin J. McNally. Mr. McNally was arrested for skyjacking back in 1972. He skyjacked an airplane out of St. Louis, and he bailed out somewhere north of St. Louis. It turned out it was in Indiana. We just learned he didn't even know where he was when he bailed out. But before that, they flew back and forth between Tulsa and around St. Louis, and back up in there and back down. And as they were getting ready to take off again for him to bail out of the plane, a drunken citizen from the St. Louis and lives in the St. Louis area came charging in, and he was going to be a hero and stop this skyjacking because KMOX was probably the station in St. Louis, was covering this and showing it live on TV. And
He was watching it at the airport hotel.
Marriott bar.
Marriott Hotel right across the street.
From the airport. His name being David Hanley.
And David Hanley told the people there at the bar, he said, you just keep watching this. You're going to see something change real quick. And he ran over there in his Cadillac and crashed through the fences. And just as the plane was taxiing down the runway, the captain looks up and he says, oh, my God, there's a car on the runway. Oh, my God, they're running toward us. And he slams on the brakes. The Cadillac crashes and hits the front wheel and takes out the front wheel and then spins off and hits a strut on the side. And they take that guy off to the hospital, and the plane's down, and they find another plane and transfer the money and the parachutes. Mac and a couple of flight attendants, I think 4 flight attendants actually, and the new crew, one of whom was an FBI agent, I think.
A pilot, a co-pilot, and an alleged engineer who was an FBI officer.
Back in the olden days, they had a 3-person crew. They don't know if they can get away with sneaking a agent on there now, because both of them better be pilots before they take off. There's not too many FBI agents that can fly a large
727
airliner, I don't imagine. There might be, but so that's where we are. From my reading on this, he was in the area of Peru, Indiana, which is about midway in the state, about the middle of the state, I believe, wasn't it, Mac?
Yes, I think it wound up middle of the state somewhere.
So you had slept overnight, wrapped up in the parachute. You hid the parachute back in the woods. Did they ever find that parachute?
Yes, they found the parachute. As a matter of fact, I had to take a poop. I pooped into the parachute and rubbed it all in, and they never mentioned that when they got into court. But
that would have been a big piece of scientific evidence. It would
DNA.
DNA would link you.
They
to
would
that
have
parachute.
DNA and everything on that poop.
That's a good one. That's a good caught by taking a dump. Say, how were you caught, man? Well, I took a dump on my parachute, and they matched my DNA up to it.
They got me with the DNA.
That and my last known meal.
Yeah.
I had
It was the airplane peanuts that probably gave him away.
It was airplane peanuts that gave you away. Well, I guess we can laugh about this now, but you weren't laughing that morning. It was the middle of the morning, I believe. You had gotten up, you figured out you were in Indiana, you were walking down a secondary road, and I believe you caught a ride.
That's where we stopped. No, I didn't catch a ride.
Well, what happened?
I was on the secondary road, and I walked on the secondary road and got into one of the main roads, which was asphalt pavement, and I started walking down that road. I walked about 200 and 300 feet, and I'm looking down the road, and it's pitch black in the sky, and I turn around, and I see that in the other direction, there's light in the sky. So I figured that I need to go where the light is. So I turned around, and I started walking the other way toward the light, And I walked about 300 or 400 feet, and I heard somebody, a car, coming down the road, and I didn't look around to see it, but I jumped off the road. And if I hadn't jumped off the road at that moment, that vehicle would have hit me. He was doing about 60 miles an hour. So I jumped off the road, and he kept on going. I said, damn, that was close. Within 10 minutes, because I was hitchhiking. Every time I'd see a car, I would hitchhike. But nobody picked me up. And within 10 minutes, a car came down the road and stopped right there in front of me. In back of me. I was walking toward the city, and he came down the road the other direction, and he stopped right there about 20 feet from me. This guy got out of the car, and he said, "Where are you going?" "I'm going to Michigan." So he walked up to me, and I think he mentioned that he was the police. So he said, "Where are you coming from?" And I told him, "I'm coming from a friend's house." He said, "What's his name?" And I said, "His name is Hillary Johnson." He says, "Where does he live?" And I said, "Back about half a mile." And he went back to his vehicle. His wife was with him. He went back to his vehicle and got out some notebook paper or something, and came back to me. And he said, "What's your name?" I told him my name's Patrick McNally. Could I see some identification? So I pulled up the driver's license that I had. And he said, "Do you have any more identification?" I said, "Well, I got my brother's credit cards here." Those were in my name, Martin McNally. So I showed him this, and he took it all down. As we were talking, he said, "What happened to you?" And I said, "I had a fight with my brother, Marty." I said, "I'm going to go back to Michigan by myself." He said, "Okay." And as he was getting in his car, he says, "Would you like a ride into town?"
Did you have that gun on you then, that little pistol?
Yes, I had the 25 caliber Beretta in my back pocket. He said, "What's that guy's name again?" I said, "Hillary Johnson." He said, "Oh." He was at his car door. At his car door, his door was open. He said, "I know him. He's got 3 kids." And I said, No. Hillary's only got one son. He's about 12 years old. I know interrogation from military service, escape and evasion training. If I would have said, "Yeah, that's him," he'd have pulled out his gun and said, "You're coming with me for further investigation," because I don't know any Hillary Johnson, and he had taken me in right there. But I told him, no, he's only got one son.
Did he know that the airplane hijacker had jumped out at that point in time around there?
He did know.
He did. He should have been
This
more
had been
alert.
national news.
It was a hot area.
That's what I thought. The FBI had already flooded in the area with helicopters and everything.
They had 200 FBI agents in this area here. As he's getting in his car, I'm on the road, and he said, "Would you like a ride into town?" And I said, "Yes, I'd appreciate that." So before I got into his car, I pulled out this Beretta. I threw it about 20 feet. As he was, he couldn't see me do this, okay? But as he was getting into his, I threw it back, so his wife couldn't see, and so the gun went flying. I didn't want that in my pocket at that point. So I get in the car, and as we're driving down the road, I said, "Yeah, I heard about the trouble in this area. It's been all over the news. Looking for the Skyjacker. It's all over the radio." He said, "Yeah, it's you shouldn't be on the road. It's people be stopping you." And I said, "Yeah, okay." So he dropped me off at it was on the main street, and it was right next to a hotel. I got out of his car, and I didn't go into the hotel. I walked down the road, and my intentions were to get out of this area. I'm thinking about hot wiring a car. I changed my mind on that because this guy had stopped me. He's going to have a record of it. If any cars come up missing, it could finger me. So I came down the road. There was a bar there at the end of the street. This is in Peru, Indiana.
And you needed a drink by that time.
Well, I didn't need a drink, but I needed to get off the street and
Really?
get my mind together and everything. So I walked in the bar. I go up to the bar and order a drink. As I'm sitting there, I'm looking around, People are looking at me. The bar's got about 10 people in it. So I get my drink, and then I go into the restroom. I look in the mirror. I'm tore up. God, my face is tore up. My eyes brown. My chin is screwed up. Looks like I was in a fight. Because I told the cop, the chief of police, that I was in a fight with my brother, and I'm going to go home by myself.
Not realizing just quite how bad the shit beating you up had been. I had no idea
what I looked like. Yes, at that point, until I looked in the mirror, I was looking bad. So I put water on my hair, I combed it, and I went back out to the bar, sat down again, I ordered another beer, and I ordered a hamburger. I was in there for about an hour. I think it was about maybe 11:30, maybe midnight. I went out of the bar, came out of the bar. I went over to that hotel or motel or whatever you want to call it. I walked in there and I decided that I got to stay off the road, forget about hot wire in the car. And I went up to the clerk and I said, I'd like to get a room for the night. As she's processing me, I give her a credit card in the name of Martin McNally, my credit card. And she said, she asked for a driver's license, so I give her a driver's license. She said, this isn't your credit card. I said, no, that belongs to my brother. My brother lets me use his credit card. That's my driver's license, of course. She said, you aren't that Skyjacker, are you? And I said, oh, man, absolutely not. I would imagine that it's all over the news here, and I would imagine he's out of this area right now. I had car trouble. And I'm going to have to get my car fixed tomorrow. That's why I need the room. So she processed it, and I went up to the room, turned on the news. That's when I knew I was in Peru, Indiana. It was on the news, every channel news, that the guy bailed out over Peru, Indiana.
Every channel you turned to, they were talking about the hijacking of Flight 119 on American Airlines.
Yes.
And then it was actually two airlines, because it wasn't just 119.
Yes, there were two planes.
There were actually two planes.
I had to take two planes. And I got a life sentence for each one.
So they didn't have any video that news had shot of you at the airport during the change of planes that they put up on there?
Well, they could have gone back through. I mean, you had to show some kind of ID to get your ticket, right?
The only thing
he showed a
birth certificate.
Birth certificate that wasn't in his name.
Yeah, I know, but wouldn't they then put all that information somewhere?
Oh, they did.
So they know who everybody that's on the plane.
Yeah, they did.
And then later they can kind of go back and go, well, let's see, we got it. Here's all the people that got off the plane.
This guy we're looking for presented himself as Robert Wilson, and that's who we're looking for, this mysterious Robert Wilson. Where are you?
So the lady says, are you the hijacker? No, he's long gone if he's smart.
Yeah.
You never did look for the money. You just were like, the money was gone when it dropped. And
okay, here, the money's gone. I knew that if I run a circular, just expand the circle, I'm going to find that package. But I don't know how far I'm going to have to expand that circle. If I had vector points, I could have said, well, just before I hit the ground, I say, boop, 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 this is where it's at. It's in this area here.
Yeah.
Like a piece of a pie. It's not in this other area, and all I need to do is go there. When I read the transcript and I calculated through all the testimony that the mailbag was 1,200 feet from where the parachute was.
No. It was that close.
It was 1,200 feet.
Had anybody pooped in the mailbag?
Nobody pooped in the mailbag. I would have done that, though, if I'd have known what was happening.
That's a whole other story, the mailbag. But you're in the hotel, so now you got to get back to Detroit.
Yes. I called James Petty. He was my my crime partner. I called his house. I didn't get any answer. And then
he's the guy that got you the gun.
No. Pelikowski. Walt Pelikowski got me the gun. But Jim Petty was the
guy that you did strong arm robberies with.
Credit cards and a bunch of other stuff.
Okay, the guy that worked at the Shell station or the.
Yes. He was a main character in all of this. I couldn't get him at about 11, 12 o'clock when I tried to call him. Before I went up to my room, I tried to call him on the payphone. Couldn't reach him, and I called. I think I called Walt Pelikowski at the time. Now this is Saturday night. I don't believe I reached anybody on the phone then. Come Sunday, Sunday morning, I called Walt Pedlikowski, and I think it was about somewhere around noon. And I said, Walt, I'm down here in Peru, Indiana. He says, damn, I thought you were dead. I said, yeah, I know, and I need some help. You need to come down here and pick me up. And that was Sunday. I told him where I was at, and come Monday, he wasn't there. So I called him back again. And I said, Walt, you need to come down here now to pick me up. And he said, oh, God, your car's over at your house. He parked my car at my house in Wyandotte and left it in the driveway. He said, I'm going to have to go get your car. And I said, well, do that, but you need to get down here because I've got no way to get out of this town. It's hot. They got FBI agents in here all over the place, and I can't be on the street. He said, okay. He did come down to Peru, and I think he got there about 5 or 6 o'clock p.m.
On that Monday.
Yes, on that Monday. I checked out of the hotel, make sure paid my bill and everything. When we're walking out to the hotel, I told him, walk straight. Don't look at these cars. Don't look around. And just look natural. As we're coming up to my car, he said, do you want to drive? I says, no, you drove in here and you drive out of here. Don't get any accidents. Be careful. He said, where to? And I said, just drive down the street and we'll find out where to. He drove, and that was it. Once we got out of the town, I said, boy, that was tough. Now we need to figure out how to get on the main drags back to Detroit. And we drove for probably a couple of miles and found a secondary main road. And I said, turn right. We turned right. And after driving probably 10 or 15 miles, I forget, but saw a sign that said Indianapolis. And as soon as I saw that, I said, I know where we're at. Get on I-70, find I-70, and we'll get on I-70 and split I-75 and then go up into town.
Back to Detroit.
And that's what we did. But as we're in the car driving, he's screaming at me. He said, why did you call me? And I said, Walt, I had to call you. And he said, there's a record of that. And I said, Walt, don't worry about the record. Listen, if I get busted, don't you worry about me fingering you or sending the FBI to you. If I get busted, they're going to come to you anyway because you're an associate of mine. And when they do, don't tell them anything. Just deny knowing anything at all. Don't get weak. So we went into town and we went over to his house. By that time, his wife knew everything.
It had been on national news.
Yeah, she knew.
You'd probably been watching it there in the hotel in Peru.
She knew everything.
She realized that it was you because of the conversations that he'd had with her before.
Yes, she knew it was me, and she knew the whole everything about it. And I was at their house for maybe an hour, 2 hours, and I think it was about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock that I left there. I went home and I went to bed, and I got up the next day, probably 3 or 4 o'clock p.m. And then I got up and I called Jim Petty. I said, let's go out and talk. So he says, we need to talk. We went out and had coffee and talked about what happened. I told him, I lost the money.
Did he believe that you lost the money?
By that time, they knew they had the money.
Oh, okay. So
they found the money on Monday.
Yeah.
Farmer, that old man, he's dead now, but he found that money, and that's another story too. I'll get into that in just a minute. Talked to Jim Petty, and he knew everything, and I said, well, I'm going to pull another one here, probably in 2 or 3 weeks, but I'm going back up in the air. I'll get $1 million next time. So I left his house, and I think I went home. I think this was Tuesday. I don't know what I did Tuesday night. On Wednesday, the shit hit the fan.
The farmer?
Yeah.
On Monday, the farmer found the money.
Man, here's what happened with him. He found the money about 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. He knew what it was. He didn't open it up. He immediately called his grandson, I believe it was. He was about 19, 20 years old. He worked at the railroad. He said, I need you to come to the farm right now. And the young kid said, well, I can't right now. I can when we have lunch. So the young kid came over to the farm, and the old man, he was about 62 years old at the time, I think. He took him out to the middle of the farm, the bean farm. He said, look at that. It was a leather bag with initials AA. The old man knew what it was. The young kid, whoa, what's this? So the young kid opened it up and pulled out these 2 sacks, unopened sacks of money. They knew what it was. He said, this is the money that Skyjacker had. Must have lost. So the old man says to the youngster, what should we do? They called the sheriff, and the sheriff called the FBI, and within 30 minutes, they had everybody over there.
You know, when you say they called the sheriff, did they call the same sheriff who picked you up?
They probably did. They probably did. So they get all these people over here to the farm. The FBI agents, they open up the sacks and everything. They see this money, and they say, yeah, this is the money that the Skyjacker had. He must have lost it. And later, the airline came to this farmer with a check for $10,000. And he says, we appreciate what you did, and we got a reward, $10,000 for you. Oh, no, I'm not going to accept that. I should be entitled. I should get 5% at least, $25,000. Mm-hmm. And the airline says, oh, no way. So I guess the guy talked to a lawyer, and he was thinking about suing the airlines. Eventually, he accepted the $10,000. But that just shows you he was greedy himself. Okay? He should have just kept the money. His wife said later about this thing that incident destroyed their family.
No, really?
Because all the people were saying, you stupid, stupid idiot.
You should have kept the money.
You should have kept the money. Money from heaven. Assuming that the farmer had kept that money, I would have never, ever disclosed that I lost the money in the air.
So they would have always thought you had the money.
They would have always thought that I had the money.
But do you think that would have made it harder on, I mean, you already got 2 life sentences. How much harder are they going to make it on you?
Well, who cares? You're facing life, and
that wouldn't have made it. It wouldn't have made
any difference.
Penalty.
They would have asked for the money, and I says
the U.S. attorney would have offered you a deal. If you return the money, we might give you a little bit of leniency. But either way it cut it, you were going to do the next 25 or 30 years.
I wouldn't have given her the money. I wouldn't have told my loss.
At this point, so you really are in that situation where you've already committed the crime. You're back really to kind of your home base, and you're going about planning to do this again.
Planning another one.
I know what I did wrong. I know what I'm going to do right.
Yes. The problem is James Paulzak had called his undercover friend who was
that was Jim Petty
that was James Paulzak.
That was a different guy than you
that was
mentioned.
A different
this
guy.
Is the first time you've mentioned. Okay, all right.
No, I mentioned it before, but this was James Paulzak is different from James Petty.
Okay.
We were going to see James Paulzak in January when that thing came over from a DJ.
When the radio DJ talked about D.B. Cooper.
About this thing.
He was another old criminal associate that you had.
Yes. He was a criminal associate and credit cards. But James Petty, not James Petty, but James Paulzak called the Detroit cop at about 9 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. Now, I haven't been out of that plane more than 6 hours, and he's on the phone. Hey, I think I know who did that thing.
Yeah.
Martin McNally out of Wyandotte. I don't know where he lives, but I think that was it. I'm sure it was him.
And he thought that because you talked with him about this.
Yes, he knew what was happening. And he talked to Jim Petty, and they discussed this thing, this stupid score that I was going to pull. He couldn't turn him on to where I lived, but he said, James Petty knows all about this. What he did, he didn't call James Petty. He called the FBI, and he said, hey, that stuff that happened in St. Louis, I think I know who pulled that. Martin McNally out of Wyandotte. Okay, so the FBI had my name at that point. They didn't act on it. They investigated it a little bit. I come from a good family, prominent family, moderately wealthy, a bunch of kids and everything. The FBI didn't believe it.
He had a service record for being in the Navy.
Yes.
Had gotten out.
The FBI didn't believe it. Kritschke was his name. I forget his first name, but Kritschke called them back. I think his name was Robert Kritschke. But he called them back, I think, Monday. He called them back, and he told him by that time, Monday or Tuesday, he said, why haven't you acted to arrest this McNally character? He's the one. Then he, I guess, made another phone call. I think it was probably on Wednesday, the day of my arrest. And he told him, this guy's getting ready to pull another one. That's the word I have. and you need to talk to James Petty. That's on the day that I was arrested, June the 28th. So they went to him, maybe at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
James Petty.
To James Petty, talked to him. He denied knowing everything. He held his mud. They left, and they went back to James Paulzak and told James Paulzak what Petty had told him. And Paulzak told him, no, he's lying. Tell him that this, and this, and he knows everything about it. Because I talked to him, and he told me about this.
Well, he was also the guy that came down to Peru, Indiana, and picked you up.
No, that was Walter Petlikowski.
That was Petlikowski.
Petlikowski. Nobody knew Petlikowski.
Okay.
My right hand never knew what my left hand was doing. I kept them separate.
Okay.
Nobody ever met Petlikowski. But they went back to talk to Petty, and they told him, we've talked to James Paulzak, and he tells us what you told him. We know you were involved in this thing, and you need to come clean. Otherwise, when we get into this thing after the arrest of McNally, we can come back and indict you for aiding and abetting him. Tell us what you know, and we'll do what we can. So at that point there, Petty said, okay, McNally did it. I know he did it. So they said, well, we want to get him on a recording. So we got a recorder, tape recorder. We'll put in your Cadillac, and you can go take him out for coffee. Petty told him, no, that's a bad idea. If this guy isn't stupid, if he snaps, if there's a recording in the car, it's all over. I mean, he'll be in the air, in the wind, and you never see him again.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to wrap this up. When we come back, we will finish off the story of the skyjacking of Martin J. McNally and what happened after he was arrested. It gets even more exciting. I'm not sure we can do that one in another 30 minutes because I
think we're at the point where he's, now he's back home pretty much, and things are kind of closing in on him. They've gotten the money from the farmer.
Yeah.
Right. They're kind of squeezing in on him.
Recovered the parachute.
They recovered the parachute with the poop on. No DNA evidence because they couldn't do that. This was 1972.
No, and what he hasn't said is they also would have the piece of paper with the ransom note on it,
which he
his
left in the plane.
Which he left in the plane. When the plane landed, they recovered it. So we will finish this off with the arrest and a little bit about the trial, I would imagine, and a little bit about his imprisonment on the next go around.
You think we'll just get into maybe to the point where he's caught, he's in trial, he goes to prison, and then I'm afraid we
may have to go to another one.
We may go to another one where now we really talk about this other.
There was a prison break, guys,
and then there was actually a second attempted prison break.
Right,
if you will,
with the skyjacking,
with skyjackings involved in both of them.
So it's interesting. All right, if you have a problem yourself or have a friend, relative, associate that has a problem with drugs or alcohol, make your first call the first call. Call 816-361-5900, or if you're out of town, go to their website, www.firstcallkc.org. Good night, Aaron. Say good night.
Good night, Aaron. Music provided by Odd-O-Matic. Find them on Facebook at Odd-O-Matic Music.